Welcome, race fans, to Pump the Brakes, the one, the only, the Cadillac of Formula One podcasts. I am your host, the Pit Lane Patriot, and today we are going to go over all the events that occurred at the British Grand Prix, including Kimi Antonelli's heartbreaking race, Charles Leclerc's first win of the season, and of course, our team Cadillac. Let's get into everything. So Silverstone did what Silverstone always does. It gave us speed, it gave us history, it gave us that British crowd energy, and it gave us chaos. It gave us some heartbreak, and it gave us a safety car finish. It gave us a Ferrari win, and it gave us some Mercedes drama. And it gave us Max Verstappen absolutely losing his mind on the radio. And somehow in the middle of all that, it gave Charles Leclerc one of the biggest wins of his career.
Charles Leclerc wins the British Grand Prix for his 9th victory in Formula One.
So after Austria, Silverstone as a whole was absolutely loaded. Charles Leclerc won the Grand Prix. George Russell finished second. Lewis Hamilton finished third. Ferrari put both cars on the podium at Silverstone. Kimi Antonelli won the sprint, took pole, looked like he might be in position to win the Grand Prix, and then finished outside the points. Max Verstappen crashed out late. Lando Norris finished fourth at home. Isaac Hadjar finished fifth for Red Bull. Racing Bulls got both cars in the points. Gabriel Bortoleto scored for Audi. And Alpine actually snuck in both cars into the top 10. So yeah, it was one of those races where the final order only tells you part of the story. Leclerc won, Russell second, Hamilton third. So yeah, clean enough. But the race itself was not clean. It wasn't simple and it was not straightforward. It was one of those weekends where the story just kept changing. Like on Friday, it looked like Lewis Hamilton might be ready to do something magical at Silverstone again. The crowd had like that feeling. You know the feeling, like when Silverstone starts believing Lewis Hamilton can do something, you can hear the whole place, the whole crowd, you can hear all the noise. The whole place changes. It just becomes less of a racetrack and more of like a pressure chamber around Lewis Hamilton. Then Saturday came, and Kimi Antonelli said, hold on, I'm the championship leader for a reason, and he wins the sprint race. It's his first sprint win. He beats Hamilton, who had pole on the sprint. He beats Norris, beats Russell, takes 8 points, and then he turns around in the same day and puts Mercedes on pole for the Grand Prix. It's not normal, especially from a kid. Kimi dominated Saturday. I know we've talked about Antonelli a lot this season, but I still have to stop every once in a while and just say that the kid is 19. He's 19, and he walked into Silverstone, one of the biggest stages in the sport, with Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari, George Russell trying to win, Lando Norris defending home turf and his championship, Max Verstappen lurking, and he won the sprint race, and he took pole on Saturday. He had a superstar Saturday, go Kimi. But then Sunday happened, and Sunday reminded us that Formula One at times can be cruel. Because Antonelli started from pole. Anyone who's watched Antonelli this season can tell you Antonelli has not had good starts this season. So he had messed up his start. Charles Leclerc got him into turn one. Once Leclerc got to the front, the whole race became a long, tense question of can Ferrari actually finish this? Can Leclerc hold on? Can Antonelli come back? Can Hamilton or Russell get involved? Can Verstappen drag himself into a podium fight? Can Norris find enough pace to give the home crowd something? And for a while, it looked like Antonelli was still very much in the race. I mean, he was chasing. He was in contention. The Mercedes had pace. The championship leader was not gone. He was coming. And then the car started to fail him. Right when Kimi was pushing and trying to see if he could still win this race, car starts messing up. The front left wheel shield problem took his race apart. The car became hard to steer, the pace disappeared, the pit stop and repair cost him time, and the track limit penalty dropped him even further. That front left wheel shield completely got fucked, and he was dragging the car after that. So it was pretty brutal. He went from sprint winner to pole sitter to dragging his car to in no points, which is really brutal. And honestly, that might be the biggest championship story of the weekend because Kimi Antonelli did a lot right at Silverstone. He did the sprint, he did the qualifying, he put himself in position. But Formula One does not give you points for being in position, it gives you points for finishing. And he finished 15th. Now, let's be fair, this is not a rookie meltdown. This is not him throwing the car into the wall on his own. This wasn't like a driver could not handle a moment. Mercedes themselves are taking full responsibility for the car issue, which matters. And the result still counts. The damage still counts. The championship still moves. And George Russell finishing second means Antonelli's lead got smaller. So if you're Mercedes, this is a weird weekend because they leave Silverstone still leading both championships. They leave with a sprint win. They leave with the pole. And they leave with George Russell on the podium. They leave with proof that the car is fast, as everyone knows. They also leave knowing they probably lost a Grand Prix win. There was a Grand Prix win left on the table. That's the Mercedes feeling right now. Dominant, but not comfortable. They have been the absolute class of the field this season. They keep taking poles, they keep scoring, they keep putting themselves in the right places, but Ferrari are now showing up on Sundays. And when Ferrari show up on Sundays, suddenly Mercedes cannot afford mistakes, reliability problems, or missed opportunities. Which brings us to the race winner, Charles Leclerc. Now, this one mattered. This one was not just another race win. This was Leclerc changing the emotional temperature around his season. Because coming into Silverstone, Leclerc had been carrying a lot of frustration. He had made mistakes. He had missed chances, tough weekends. The feeling that Lewis Hamilton had started to become Ferrari's main story was growing and growing with each weekend. And that feeling that Charles was maybe slipping a little into the background was also growing. And then he wins at Silverstone. That's how you change a narrative. He gets the start, takes the lead, absorbs the pressure, watches the race twist around him. And at the end of it, even with the safety car finish making it a little weird, Charles Leclerc was the British Grand Prix winner. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, okay, well, Antonelli had that issue. He was gunning, and the safety car changed the ending. Russell was close. Hamilton was there. Okay, yes, all that is true. But Formula One is not a courtroom where you argue hypotheticals until everyone gets a participation trophy. Charles Leclerc won the race. He was there when the door opened. He was fast enough to be in position, and then he kept the car together, which allowed him to convert. It's a win. For Ferrari, this is huge because now Ferrari has 2 wins in 3 races. Hamilton won in Spain, Leclerc in Silverstone. Ferrari were frustrating in Austria, but now they come back and put both cars on the podium at the British Grand Prix, which is not a fluke. That's a trend trying to become a threat. And I love that Fred Vasseur is probably going to say all the correct team boss things. Like, we stay focused. We take it race by race. We are not talking about the championship. Like, of course, like that's what he's going to say. But the rest of us, we can see it. Like, Ferrari's actually alive and they're actually coming. Now, okay, they're not leading the championship. Like, Mercedes still have the advantage. Mercedes still have Antonelli and Russell. Mercedes still looks like the most complete team. But Ferrari are not decorations anymore. Ferrari are not just showing up with a nice red car. Ferrari are winning races. Like, the Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc pairing is starting to look dangerous. Like, and that brings us to Hamilton. 3rd place at Silverstone in Ferrari red. I mean, come on, that image still like hits hard. I mean, Lewis Hamilton on the podium at Silverstone, that's familiar. But Lewis Hamilton on the podium at Silverstone in Ferrari red is weird in like the best way possible. And okay, this wasn't like a dream story. He didn't get win 10 at Silverstone. He didn't deliver Ferrari's fairy tale British Grand Prix victory. He didn't take the whole place and put it on his back like he did in 2024. But he was right there. He was fast all weekend. He took 2nd in the sprint. He finished 3rd in the race. He gave Ferrari a double podium. He kept himself right there in the championship conversation. And I think that matters because Hamilton's Ferrari chapter is not just about nostalgia. It's not just about the image of Lewis in red. It's not just about, wouldn't it be cool if he did something magical before the end? No, he's actually being competitive. He's won a race this year. He's on podiums. He's ahead of Leclerc in the standing. He's put the car on pole. He's part of why Ferrari is becoming a problem for Mercedes. And at Silverstone, you can feel that more than anywhere else. During this race, every time Lewis Hamilton was in the fight, the crowd got louder. You could hear it even above the engines. Every time he looked like he might attack, the whole race got dramatic. This is the power of Lewis Hamilton at Silverstone. Even when he's not winning, he changes the atmosphere. Now we gotta talk about my man George Russell, who I'm still backing for this championship. He got 18 points closer this weekend, minus the difference from the sprint. But really, George Russell is kind of a strange case because placing 2nd at home is a good result. It's a podium, and it cuts Antonelli's lead. It definitely keeps George Russell in the fight, and it gives the British crowd a British driver on the podium, which he was. But it also feels like the weekend got away from him a little bit. After Austria, Russell came into Silverstone with momentum. He had just won. He had a chance to come home and really turn this teammate battle into something loud. But then Antonelli beat him in the sprint. Antonelli took the pole from him. Russell qualified 4th, so he wasn't like just behind Antonelli. And then Russell finished 2nd, but it happened in a race where Antonelli had the car issue and Verstappen crashed. He also got very lucky at the end with that safety car because both the Ferraris in front and behind him were on fresher tires. He would have gotten smoked if he had to gun it in the last lap. So what do you do about Russell? Listen, you take the points. It's what you do. You take the points, you don't apologize. It's championship racing. Not every single result is going to feel like a dominant statement. Sometimes a championship fight is about being there when somebody else has a bad day. Sometimes it's about turning a slightly uncomfortable weekend into 18 points and cutting Antonelli's lead. And Russell did just that. But if I'm George Russell, I'm also looking across the garage and saying, I still need to beat that kid straight up more often. Because Antonelli's result was bad, but Antonelli's pace was not. Antonelli was actually beating Russell. His weekend was strong until that car broke apart. So Russell gained points, but I don't think he fully gains control of the narrative. He stays alive, he closes the gap, he gives himself a very good chance. But the Mercedes teammate fight is still very much unresolved. So let's talk about McLaren. Lando Norris finished 4th. Oscar Piastri finished 11th. For McLaren, not a disaster, but it's not what they wanted at Silverstone. It's Lando's home race. He won here last year. He's a reigning world champion. He's got the whole Lando lane. He's beloved. Crowd wanted him in that fight. And 4th is pretty respectable. 4th is points. 4th is better than falling apart. But honestly, McLaren didn't feel like a winning team this weekend, let alone a championship team. They felt like a good team just outside the main event. Norris was there. He scored. He was close enough to be part of the front conversation, but he was not the story. He was not the threat that Ferrari and Mercedes were worried about the whole time. And Piastri finishing 11th hurt because McLaren needs both cars up there. They can't afford to have weekends when Norris is carrying the whole load and Piastri is outside the points. Not when Mercedes are scoring with Russell, and not when Ferrari's putting both cars on the podium. So for McLaren, I think Silverstone is a reality check. They're still good. They're still one of the major teams. They still have Lando Norris. They still have Oscar Piastri. And yeah, they're still the reigning world champion, and they're still in the fight. But good is really not good enough. Not with Mercedes this strong and Ferrari waking up, and not with the championship moving fast. Okay, so Max Verstappen and Red Bull. This one was ugly.
Unbelievable! Confirmation Max Verstappen is in the gravel, and he appears to be out at the British Grand Prix.
Max Verstappen was running straight in the podium fight, and then late in the race, he crashes at Stowe. Stowe corner, safety car comes out, race gets neutralized. Verstappen is done. Then after the race, the story becomes bigger than just Max crashed, because Verstappen is talking about the rear wing, the car losing downforce, and calling the situation dangerous. Like, that's serious. That's not just Max being annoyed because he didn't get a podium. This is not just a driver being spicy on the radio. When a driver says that the car is dangerous, especially a driver like Verstappen, people listen. And this comes after Austria, where he also had that qualifying crash. So now you have a pattern, or at least the appearance of a pattern. And that's the last thing Red Bull needs. Because Red Bull season's already weird enough. They're not like the dominant Red Bull of old. They're not controlling the championship. Max Verstappen is not crushing everybody. They're trying to rebuild performance, trying to stay in the fight, trying to understand the car. And now their lead driver, arguably the best driver in the world, is publicly concerned about something that affects safety and trust. And that word trust is everything, because you cannot drive Silverstone fast if you don't trust the car. You can't commit through those corners if you're wondering whether the rear is going to disappear on you. And you certainly can't fight Mercedes and Ferrari if your driver does not believe the car underneath him is stable. So Red Bull have a major problem to solve. It's not just performance, it's confidence. And that honestly might be harder, because once a driver loses trust in a car, especially at high speed, you can't fix that with one nice quote from the team principal. You have to fix that with hardware. You have to fix it with data. You have to fix it with laps where the thing behaves. Until then, every week Red Bull weekend just has this question mark over it. But on the other side of the garage, Isaac Hadjar finished 5th, which is a great result. And it's a fascinating result because Verstappen is a big story, but Isaac Hadjar actually quietly put the other Red Bull in a really good position. He qualified well, he raced well, he took 10 points, and he gave Red Bull something positive to take away from the weekend. Hadjar finishing 5th matters because Red Bull needed more than just Max. They need both cars scoring. They need both cars in the fight. They need evidence that packages something beyond Verstappen dragging results out of chaos. And Hadjar just gave them that. Now the Racing Bulls. So Liam Lawson was in 6th, Arvin Lindblad was in 7th, right behind Hadjar in the Big Brother car. So 2 cars in the points, 6th and 7th at Silverstone. For Lindblad, doing that on a home weekend as a young British driver is pretty special. And, that's the kind of result that changes how people talk about a team, because Racing Bulls are not just grabbing a lucky P10 here. They're becoming a team that can punish chaos. Like, they can actually execute. They can put both cars in position, and they keep doing it. Like, they make the faster team much more nervous when the race gets messy. And for Liam, yeah, 6th is pretty strong. For Lindblad, 7th is another big marker in a rookie season that already has people paying attention. Also, let's be honest, from a Cadillac perspective, and I know we're not in the Cadillac section just yet, we'll get there, but just as a grid-wide point, these are the teams that Cadillac eventually has to deal with. Like, this is the standard. When Racing Bulls gets a chance, they score big. When the race opens up, they put 2 cars in the points. That's what a mature midfield operation does. So there's a lot to learn from that. And Cadillac is looking at that and saying, okay, this is the level that we have to climb towards. So we should definitely keep an eye on teams that are doing things right, because that's exactly how you want to become. Further down, Gabriel Bortoleto finished in 8th for Audi, which is another important midfield story because Audi have not had a huge points haul this season. So Bortoleto scoring here is huge for them. It gives them something. It puts a little more distance between them and the teams behind them. It gives the drivers a result to build on. And again, that's how the midfield works, right? You one step at a time. So Audi's making another step forward. You don't always need to dominate. Sometimes you just got to be there when the race gets weird. And Silverstone got weird. Bortoleto was there. And then Alpine snuck both cars into the points. Franco Colapinto into 9th and Pierre Gasly into 10th, which was not glamorous, not front page, but for Alpine, that's pretty good, A slightly worse result, and you have no points all weekend, and instead you got both your cars into the points. A double points in a chaotic race is exactly the kind of thing that keeps you alive in the constructors fight. And when you're in a tight midfield pack, 9th and 10th can matter a lot by the end of the year. There have been many a championship where positions have been decided by 1 point. And then on the other hand, Haas had both cars just outside of the points, with Behrman in 12th and Ocon in 13th. That hurts, because when the race gets messy and points are available, finishing 12th and 13th feels like being right outside the club while everyone else is inside dancing and having a good time. Williams had a rough one. Sainz 17th, Albon DNF. Aston Martin basically nowhere, Alonso 18th and Stroll 19th. And that's the other part of Silverstone. It's not going to be a learning weekend for everybody. Some teams just got beat, and that's exactly what happened with Aston Martin and Williams. Okay, so when we zoom out, what do we got as a big story of the British Grand Prix? Number one, we got to remember Ferrari is still alive. Leclerc just won, Hamilton in third, 2 wins in 3 races for the team. The red car is not just pretty, it's getting competitive. Number two, Mercedes is still comfortably leading, but they missed a big opportunity here. Antonelli won the sprint, took pole, and had the pace to fight for the Grand Prix. And the car ran into issues on Sunday. Russell took second, but Mercedes will know this could have been way more than it was. Number three, the championship fight tightened. Antonelli still leads, but Russell closed the gap. Hamilton is still right there, but Leclerc is gaining momentum, so this thing is really not over. Number four, Red Bull have a trust problem. Verstappen crashed. He's not comfortable in that car. 5, McLaren still searching. Norris in 4th, Piastri at 11th. Norris in 4th is fine, Piastri at 11th is not. McLaren's got to get it together. Midfield's definitely getting spicy. Silverstone remains Silverstone. So it was a chaotic race. It was an imperfect finish. At the end of the race, there was that safety car. We could have had a last lap shootout. We did not. It ended up ending the race on a safety car. So that was frustrating. The drivers wanted a chance to fight. The fans wanted a final lap shootout. And we all wanted that one lap of madness. But even with that ending, Silverstone still gave us a lot. A Ferrari win, British double podium, Racing Bulls breakout, midfield shook up a bit. It was a proper Grand Prix weekend. And last but not least, it wouldn't be a race recap if we didn't talk about what all this means for our team Cadillac. After Austria, I was pretty nervous for Cadillac going into Silverstone because Austria was ugly. There's no other way around it. The 2 cars were at the back. 2 cars got early retirements. There was an upgrade package that needed race data, and instead, Cadillac got basically nothing. Bottas out after 2 laps, Pérez out after 4. It's the kind of weekend that makes you say, okay, don't panic, but we need a response. And you know what? That Silverstone Cadillac gave us a response. It wasn't a miracle, it wasn't points or like a midfield breakthrough, but it was a response. Checo Pérez finished 15th, Valtteri Bottas finished 17th. Both cars finished the race, and after Austria, that matters. I know it sounds small, I know nobody's throwing a parade for P15, P17, I know Ferrari just won the British Grand Prix, Mercedes had a pole, sprint win, and George Russell on the podium, and Red Bull looks good, so do the Racing Bulls. So if you're looking at the top of the timing sheets or the headlines, Cadillac's nowhere to be found. Not yet. But again, remember, this is year 1. It's a new team. It's a team that just came off its worst weekend of the season. So the question going into Silverstone was not, can Cadillac suddenly beat Racing Bulls? The question was, can they stabilize? Can they finish? Can they get laps? Can they finally get the upgrade package running over a full race distance? Can Perez and Bottas give engineers something really to work with? And the answer was yes, across the board. And that's the headline for Cadillac at Silverstone. They got to the end. All right, so let's be clear. Finishing the race is not the final goal. It's not one of those participation trophy moments where we clap because the car saw the checkered flag. Cadillac's not here to be happy with 15th and 17th. But after Austria, both cars finishing was the first box that had to be checked, and they checked it. Pérez started 20th and finished 15th. That's 5-place gain, some of which comes from other people having problems, but it's still a 5-place gain. It's still racing, so he still had to keep the car clean. He had to survive the race and bring it home against Bottas, Aston Martin, and the DNFs. And Pérez himself called it one of the team's strongest races so far this season, which is important because Checo knows what a good Formula One team looks like. He's been in front runners before. He's been in pressure situations. He knows the difference between fake positivity and a race where the team actually made a step. And what I liked from him was honesty. He basically said there's still work to do, but there's a little more speed, and we can start getting into the mix with the midfield. Exactly where Cadillac is. It's not a midfield team yet. We're not consistently fighting with Haas, Audi, Alpine, Racing Bulls, or Williams. But at Silverstone, we were close enough that you could at least start to see the shape of the next target. And that's what development looks like. It's not always one massive jump. It's not always we brought upgrades and now we're P10. Not everything is the Ross Brawn double diffuser story. Sometimes development is we lost, we're stable, we were retiring, we're now finishing, we have data, and we're not guessing, we're learning. That's progress. It's not glamorous progress, but it's real, and it adds up. Bottas finishing 17th might not look exciting, but I actually think his race might have been just as important from a team perspective, because Bottas said the number one thing is that they finished the race after 3 events with DNFs. And it's exactly the point. For a new team, every finish is not just a result, an experiment completed. You get tire data, brake data, cooling data, energy management data, you get feedback from your drivers over the course of a full race, and you get to see what the car looks like on different compounds. You get so much, and it matters. For Cadillac specifically, this was the first full race distance with the upgrade package that they brought to Austria. Like I said in our Austria review, Cadillac bought a huge upgrade package. So now that they've actually finished a race with that upgrade package, that's huge. I mean, just think about it. They brought the upgrades in Austria, but Austria basically gave them no Sunday. So Silverstone became the first real test. It wasn't a pretty test. It wasn't like a clean test. It's a proper Formula One test. High-speed corners, sprint weekend pressure, limited practice, wind, race chaos, safety car, and both cars got to the flag. It's useful. It's how you build the next version of this car. That is this fight. It's not Mercedes. It's not Ferrari. It's Cadillac moving towards the midfield where Haas lives. That is the first mountain. And at Silverstone, you saw little pieces of that. Now let's take it back a little bit to the start of the weekend, because Silverstone did not begin like some huge breakthrough. In sprint qualifying, Pérez was 19th and Bottas was 20th. That's still unfortunately the reality on one lap pace. Cadillac's still living at the back in terms of qualifying. And Bottas said it pretty plainly that on a single lap, we're still kind of between Aston and the midfield. That's the phrase, between Aston and the midfield. That might be the most accurate description of Cadillac right now, between Aston and the midfield. It's not the slowest thing in Formula One anymore in every condition. It's not just wandering around 3 seconds off the pack, but they're also not fully in the midfield fight yet. It's an awkward space where the car is better than it was, but it's still not fast enough to change the weekend before Sunday, which matters. So the next big step has to be qualifying. Cadillac needs to find one lap speed. Race pace is encouraging, reliability is encouraging, finishing is encouraging, but we need to find one lap speed. The overall tone coming out of Silverstone should be much better than Austria. Austria was what went wrong. Silverstone is, okay, now what can we build from? It's a very different conversation, and it's why I think that this is probably one of Cadillac's most important weekends, is show what a rebound looks like. Not because it was the best result on paper, but because it stopped the bleeding. Sometimes in a season like this, especially for a new team, you're going to get punched in the mouth. Austria punched Cadillac in the mouth. The most important thing was whether the next weekend turned into panic. Silverstone was Cadillac getting back up. Again, not with a knockout punch, more like get up, fix the mouthpiece, and finish the round. And that's exactly what Cadillac did. They finished the round. And as fans, this is where we have to be disciplined. We cannot overreact in either direction. After Austria, it was too early to say the project was in trouble. After Silverstone, it is too early to say the project has arrived. The truth is somewhere in that middle ground. Cadillac's a new Formula One team learning in public. The team also gets to show resilience in public, and Silverstone was resilient. A real weekend, not great, but real. It was exactly what Cadillac needed. And there you have it, folks. That is our Silverstone British Grand Prix review. Join us next week where we will preview the Belgium Spa-Francorchamps Grand Prix. See you then.